Good morning. I hope you're doing well. This is a continuation of the lecture that I started yesterday on Chapter 7, The Modernist Temperament. This is the period between 1885 and 1940. The first thing that we talked about yesterday was symbolism, the first movement to reject representationalism or realism. Remember that at the heart of the symbolist movement was the understanding that human beings have the power of intuition. Also, we talked about how what was most important for the symbolists in theater specifically was the creation of mood and atmosphere. This enhanced the impact of the symbols that were used. We talked about Pelléas and Melisande by Maurice Maeterlinck. I posted a short video on Blackboard for your information. Now, as we are moving toward the end of the 1800s, the end of the 19th century, we are going to see a couple of other advancements that are very important and significant in the evolution of theater. In England, a movement called English aestheticism was started by a man named Walter Pater. Behind English aestheticism is the idea that art exists to make us happy, to make us feel good. The purpose of art is sensuous pleasure. And out of this came a saying, a understanding that art exists for the sake of art for art's sake. Everything that was produced during this period was extra, amped up a little bit. If we look at the influence of English aestheticism on painters, for example, effort was put into making these paintings look more lush, more the colors, more saturated, and such that we would look at it and say that that shade of red is very deep and very beautiful, and it certainly enhances the color of that woman's lips or whatever, or the trees in a landscape might have been highlighted with flecks of gold to reflect the sun or the impact of the sun rays on the trees in the early morning. Lush, things that made us go ooh, ah. In 1895, a playwright by the name of Oscar Wilde wrote one of his most successful and popular plays, and it is called The Importance of Being Earnest. I posted a video on Blackboard of the entire play. I would encourage you to watch it, to get an understanding of this type of theater and how this play represents the period of English aestheticism. I'm not going to talk much about the plot of the play. I want you to watch it and draw your own conclusions about it. Oscar Wilde was an interesting, or had a very interesting and somewhat tragic life. And I will post a video also that explains his experiences in England as a playwright and a gay man at this time. This was a time when if you were accused and found guilty of what was known as at that time as gross indecency or homosexuality, you were imprisoned. and put under hard labor. He was for a number of years, and got out of jail and actually lived for several years after that harsh, very difficult experience. But like I said, I will post a video on Blackboard for your information about Oscar Wilde. Modernism had its greatest impact in visual art. If we think about what we just went through, representationalism, for example, the effort to make things look real, perspective, uh, the three-dimensionality that is created on a canvas. Um, with modernism, this movement rejected realism and representationalism, and you can see it in the work of artists like Pablo Picasso, who totally took the ideas of line and shape and color that exists so clearly in realistic or representational work and figured out a way to abstract it. Still maintaining those elements that we look for in visual art, line, shape, color, light, but abstracting it in such a way that the viewer has to really observe it, take it in to understand what what was created, what the artist intended, and what was finally made on the canvas. The influence of Pablo Picasso also was shared by theater artists, and there are two that we have to mention. First, Adolphe Appia. Adolphe Appia was a Swiss theater artist who had some very definite and specific ideas about theater and what theater is. Bug. First of all, if we remember that Richard Wagner said that theater had to exist with the understanding of the unity of production, that everything is more or less viewed through one single consciousness, one vision, and that's the vision of the director. Theater is a collaborative art form. Adolphe Appia believed that artistic unity and unity in production is a great idea, but not actually achievable. You can't actually achieve unity of production because there are too many conflicting elements. First, you have the actor moving about the stage, standing on a horizontal stage. And then you have flat surfaces that provide no sense of three-dimensionality. He sought to change this setup by creating levels on stage that enhanced that three-dimensional perspective appearance of the set. Now, when we talk about three-dimensional scenic elements, usually we are talking about three things: platforms, ramps, and steps. And when you place them on stage, you have, let's start with platforms. Platforms will give you height on stage. You leg up a platform with supporting legs, and you have a ramp or stairs that lead up to that level. Already you're creating variety on stage. You also have now a flat, which is basically a framed surface in sections that you can place at different points around the stage. This creates variety and a better sense of environment on stage. I'll be right back.